Greetings, it's day 4, we're at Hannover. We're here with the CEO of Critical Manufacturing, Francesco Almada Lobo. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's great to see you again.
Pleasure being here with you.
Now, you've been here for a few days, you've been talking to a lot of customers. What are some of the common trends you've seen here?
It's kind of interesting because on one side, everyone is very excited and talking about AI and Gen AI and artificial intelligence and so on. But at the same time, some people are going back to the basics and asking for, in our case, MES solutions or IoT solutions, right? And it's the convergence of these two things that is making this very interesting this year.
Good. So they're asking, how do you implement this? What are they in a journey for the most part? What do you see this end user customers at manufacturers right now?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. So again, when I say they start by trying to go and understand what their digitalization process is going to look like. Okay, and so it all starts, how can I start putting more digital infrastructure in my facilities? And they see this as the right step towards later being able to derive AI, machine learning, Gen AI.
Right.
The main problem we see with this is that sometimes they try to all of a sudden go immediately into the AI stuff.
Right.
And they need to understand that they need to take sometimes a few steps back and try to plan. Because this is not magic. It cannot be done just from day to night, and so it takes time, it takes effort. Yes, technologies are exciting, possibilities are really great, but they really need to go step by step till getting there.
Thank you for that. And indeed, if you go for every booth, just about everybody talks about the industrial AI, and we'll get back to that. But for right now, let's double click on something you said about the digital transformation and what the customers really want. And from your perspective as a CEO, what are some of the key factors that drive the successful adoption of this new technology like industrial IoT in traditional manufacturing?
Yeah, very good. So over the past years, there's been many what we call pilots that are ongoing in the IoT space. It's basically trying to gather some signals from sensors and machines and trying all of a sudden to get some specific use cases. What they've been finding out is that these type of solutions, they are very difficult to scale. They may start and do a specific use case, but then how can they bring the second one and the third one? And more than that, how can they bring this into the entire factory or to the entire set of factories that they have, right? And so they do understand that they need a little bit more than just the specific use cases, and they need to start taking care of the, what we call the infrastructure, the context. And this is what allows later to do this, more value-added with better return IoT investments.
Yeah, and do you see a common trend on the challenges that they have there in manufacturing, and how does Critical address some of those challenges?
Yeah, they do, and we've been seeing very promising results across many industries. So we still work in semiconductor, electronics, medical device, industrial equipment, and most of the challenges are kind of similar. So they first want to control their operations, they first want to control the processes which exist in the factories. They want to improve quality, they want to improve efficiency, and they understand that they are sitting on an immense amount of data that they need to capture and create value from, right? And so what we're doing in order to make this successful is the combination of these two aspects, is to gather all this information that comes from IoT and give them the right context so that they can create very rich data sets, very rich data that allows them to then create these value-added solutions that run on top. So that's how we are helping them get to this stage, and again with very, very promising results.
Right, and results both in terms for the customer results in terms of productivity improvement, but I also, if I could say, you've also had some great growth results for Critical with that. So that sounds like addressing those challenges seems to be working. Anything else you want to attribute the success you've had over the last 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, on one side, yes, the technology. It's a technology base. So we're coming up from the more traditional type of MES area. Then we started to address the automation area, the IoT area, and at the same time the data platform analytics portion, right? And it has been the combination of this, and with the pace of innovation that we put every year, that is allowing us to, at least on the innovation side, be on everyone's radar. At the same time, we've been focusing on specific industries, and it is this focus that is allowing us to grow. So we've been experiencing extraordinary growth. We're talking about 50%, 70% year on year, depending on which years, on the last 4 or 5 years. And so these results have been very promising, very great. There's one thing I think which is very important, and we can see actually this across the show, is that nobody can do this alone. No
Right.
single company can do this alone. Right? And you see, many people on Microsoft or AWS booths with many different companies and so on. We also have this
Hyperscalers.
here. We're having sessions with all our partners, and everyone understands that it's the ecosystem that at the end creates value. So nobody can do this alone. This is really a group effort, and if we do this right, we'll continue this growth space that brought us here.
Thank you for that. And you've touched on some of the hyperscaler, and it occurred to me maybe we should zero in a little bit about what you said initially, moving from a pilot to scaling, and maybe how critical address the scalability of those projects.
Yeah, that's quite important. So typically what we do is whenever we have a new customer, we do a first full implementation in a pilot plant. This is always what we do. So we need to prove the value, and then we make our customers understand that if they have multiple plants, and the majority of our customers do, I mean, we have customers with 30, 40, 50, 100 plants. And the key is how can you plan these things? And typically what we ask them to create is what we call a center of excellence, in which then they template the solutions so that later this can be deployed at a very fast manner into different plants. And so both on the COE and on these deployments, this is where we count with our partner ecosystem to be able to help us doing this at scale. Because otherwise, based on this level of customers, there's no way we can do this alone. And that's why we need all the help of these persons to help us scale and continue the growth that we've been experiencing.
Thank you for that. Now, we've had a couple of interviews in the past, both in Porto as well as last year in Hanover, and one of the questions that my team captured from the audience was around some of the feedback that you can share that shaped the development of new feature in the latest MES solution at Critical. I think we had a discussion about MES, what is it going to be called, and last year, but maybe what?
Yeah, it's a quite funny one, and the reason is that today, MES is probably a thin layer of what we do, but all the other names did not stick.
Right.
The MOM, manufacturing operations management, or the digital transformation software. So everyone still knows us for MES, although what we do is much more.
Right.
And ranging from automation to analytics, we cover the entire spectrum today of the manufacturing operational software. And so, nevertheless, even with this, we're coming up with a significant pace of innovation, significant pace of new releases every year. So we have a major release per year, and we've been having this for the past 15 years.
Any feature to say, wow, this was an aha moment, is because the feedback we got on the development from it?
It's very interesting because we have a kind of a dual system. Okay?
Sure.
So on one side, we gather all these inputs from customers. So our customers contribute directly to our roadmap.
Right.
Okay, so they ask for specific things. We have a feature voting, so that customers can vote on each other's requests.
Sure.
Okay? And this creates kind of an order list of things that they really want to see. And so this is one side of things. On the other side of things is the innovation. Right? We have this notion of if we only get from customers, they will ask simply for faster horses all the time.
Right.
So we need to mix the requests from customers, the features the most wanted that they need to see there, that they want to see there, plus the innovations that's going to introduce some changes in the way they think. Okay, and it's the combination of these two that has been able to, for instance, position us in the in Gartner's Magic Quadrant, and having the success that we've been having is this mixture of these two. So what I can promise to all our customers that first of all we'll continue to hear what they're asking for, and we take this very seriously. But they can also count on new things, new technologies, and driving forward with this revolution that is still going on.
I like what you said about whatever the traditional name may have been MES or not, but adding the innovating feature. And it was one of the foundation why I started even IoT World. I remember going to a meeting in a mining company, and they pounded on a table about the name of the product and says, if you call it anything related to MES, SCADA, or PLC, our IT will have a fit. And I realized this new name, it might have a lot of potential in the market as various analysts.
Absolutely. If you ask what IoT means today, is it the IoT? Are you talking about the devices? Are you talking about the IoT integration? Are you talking about the data platforms where you gather and analyze data? Right. So it's like it's kind of difficult. That's why digital transformation is a good name. Then of course the other problem is that there's kind of a bag for everything inside, and we need to be sometimes a little bit more specific. And also one of the dangers that we see here is the hype.
Yes.
Right? So the Gen AI hype that's everywhere. Yes, there are use cases in which we can really create value, and we have created value out of some Gen AI use cases, but it's not like all of a sudden you can have all these factories running automatically just out of Gen AI. It doesn't work like that.
Is there a metric that stuck to your mind of evaluating use cases so we can help some of our end users say, look, there's a lot of use cases, everybody talks about it, but if you walk in this hall, where do you start and what is a good use case metrics or benchmark to look at it?
Yeah, it's sometimes difficult. Many of these things on Gen AI, of course, on one side you can go into the classical efficiency metrics. You can talk about quality, you can talk about cycle time, level of scrap or something like that. You can talk about how fast you can do a new product introduction. So all of these things are really things that you can actually measure. Many times what you do is, when you're talking about automation, is you replace manual labor. And you can very easily quantify that and then calculate a return on investment on that. But at the end, it's always difficult to do this quantitatively, at least in a very accurate manner.
Thank you for that. We're trying to find a way out how to use use case, maybe have a booklet printed with this use case, trying to help the audience there. But you've touched on some of the ways that you're helping the customers and prioritize and help them vote on it. If you don't mind, expand a little bit on some of the priority that ensuring the critical manufacturing stays ahead. Congrats on your recognition in Gartner. Congrats on the reputation you're building within the analyst community. But maybe if you want to expand, what's next that keeps critical unique?
Yeah. So I think there's two things. On one side is a continuation on all the aspects that bring the necessary flexibility to the manufacturing floor. Okay, this is critical. No pun intended here. So it's we want to that they can own the system. So an MES or an IoT is not something that a vendor goes in, deploys it, leaves, and that's it. Right? This is a solutions that they own, should evolve. There's continuous improvements that needs to be done all the time. And we want our customers to own the solutions so that they can continue the journey by themselves. We are there to help whenever they want. Our partner ecosystem is there to help whenever they want. But ultimately, they need to own these products, right? And so we're putting this on their hands so that they can, continue doing that. So in terms of that, what we've been doing is we're pushing much more the different configuration options, the different data models, the different low-code, no-code options on top of the product. So these are things which is one of the most important pillars, the new forms of interaction, the augmented reality scenarios, all of this. On the other side is the data. And all the companies, I can tell you all the companies that are in the IoT, in the MES space and so on, will pivot towards analytics. Right? And it's how can you, from all this amount of data, generate the right insights.
Right.
How can you grab data that comes from 2, 3, 4 machines over time and then create data sets that allows you to create machine learning algorithms so that you can really learn from the data and improve your operations. That's basically what keeps me up at night, which is how can we bring this technology to our customers? How can we bring this technology to their hands so that, again, they own it? Because ultimately, when it comes to artificial intelligence, machine learning algorithms, they are the ones that understand what are the use cases in which this makes more sense. Right? We just need to provide them the right tools so that they can do this work properly without necessarily having to understand everything which is in the data layers or in the data science world.
Thanks for those insights. And maybe I want to close with, you mentioned a lot in listing and on priorities for critical, but perhaps if you were to take one opportunity, what is the biggest opportunity you see in the industrial IoT space with the advances in AI, manufacturing, or anything else? What do you see the biggest opportunity? I want to pick the brain of someone that's been growing for the last few years.
It's AI. It's AI. And again, it's AI. And as I was saying before, I think we're still far from reaching the huge potential that AI has. Okay? And very quickly, there's a reason for that. And the reason is that this mixes 3 disciplines. On one side, the data engineering. You need to have the plumbing properly done. Second one, the data science. You need to understand different data science algorithms which are very complex. And third, not less important than the other two, you need to understand the domain problems. And that's why one of the reasons was also why we grow is that we are channeling all this technology to the industries that we know the best. That's our differentiator right there. is instead of being generalists and say we can play the piano across any type of segment, no.
Right.
We deal with semiconductor, electronics, medical devices, and industrial equipment. And all the technology that we're doing is channeled towards the use cases that these industries need. So that's where the greatest potential is.
Thank you, Francisco. And if you're in the audience, have questions, feel free to leverage the hashtag, or there's still another day at Hannover, next day and a half, come and ask directly Francisco or his team. But also we'd like to invite you. We are going to have an AI summit in September, and we can have you right from Portugal joining us for an hour in front of the audience. So.
Absolutely, that would be a great pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.